We'll get started here shortly, hopefully right at 2 o'clock. Thank you all for coming. Start sweating in here. It's a little warm. My forehead shining, just don't pay me no mind. Yeah, I was trying to wait for Mrs. Zollicoffer to come in. I seen her go back to her office. But I'm sure she'll pop in. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. My name is Willie Hardy, Director of Student Support Services. We have Ms. Porch and hopefully soon Ms. Laura Zollicoffer from staff. There she is. All right. Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Taylor. And so I'm glad to have you all in today. Hopefully we will share some beneficial information. It's something that it's a process that I've been through several times with advisees, and just some things that I pulled out of what I think are important, some of the things that are important to highlight in the process. So hopefully it is helpful. Please jot down any questions that you may have. How you doing, Crystal? Good afternoon. But any questions that you may have, please, get our attention. You can raise your hand on the Zoom, and we'll try to get them answered for you, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm going to try to share my screen here. I'm just gonna cut that on. Okay. And, can y'all see that? Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Oh. Okay, so let's see. All right. So again, we're TRIO Student Support Services here today to talk about college transfer and success. It's a process that if you are looking to transfer from a 2-year to a 4-year institution, that some things that I found that will be super beneficial if you know them early, and then some other things that we'll get into as you move through, that you can do to I think put yourself in a winning position. Also, being a part of student support services and maximizing our services as it relates to transfer is also beneficial as well. We're gonna get into that as well a little bit. So welcome, and let's get into it. So I think, some things is worth mentioning that, before you think about transferring, uh, some things that you should kind of, prepare yourself. It's almost like, um, saying that you want to be a professional basketball player, but you don't play basketball in high school. Or, saying that, you want to be you want to be an attorney, but you don't like to read. Is almost, kind of, dichotomous, to speak those things, if you're not working towards them, right? So uh yeah, so first thing you want to do is make sure you maintain satisfactory academic progress. Okay. Get doing the small things, getting your work in on time, making sure you're keeping that GPA above a 2.0. If financial aid, uh applies to you, making sure that you're doing the things to stay on the right side of that, so you can receive the financial aid, such as the 150%, 150% over the 67% rule, stating basically you can only get up to 150% of your financial aid. Financial aid will only supply 150% of the courses that credit hours. I'm sorry, the credit hours of your program requirement, right? So if you have 60-hour requirement, they're going to only supply you with 90, and you only get that, if you're in satisfactory academic progress with your GPA. And then also the 67%, you have to pass 67% of your classes that you register for in order to maintain your financial aid. Even if you drop and didn't get, penalized for academically, if you drop below that 67%, that's going to lead you to be put on academic probation with financial aid office. Okay. So we talked about being in class, being attentive in class, from the get-go, from the onset, making sure that you're on top of doing your EVA, your initial assignment, making sure you print out your syllabus, making sure you are, on top of, understanding what your assignments, requirements, when the due dates are, things like that, all the basic things that, we do as a student, right? So making sure you communicate with your instructor, that's important. I speak to some students and your academic advisor. When I say your academic advisor, I mean your faculty advisor, right? Being that we are student support services and we also advise, I've spoken with several students several different times. Many have been here for a couple years and still haven't met their faculty advisor. That's not a good policy, okay? You want to know who your academic advisor is, your faculty advisor, as well as your student support services advisor if you have one, okay? I understand that, we may have been the initial advisors when you got here and registered you, and then we, made a connection, and we just, we refer back. We're creatures of habit, right? So, you come back to what you're familiar with, but it's a good policy to definitely meet your academic advisor, right? Stay on top of your grades, of course, okay? All right. So some important starting points I like to highlight, and I think that's a benefit after being, an advisor for maybe, a year or so. I try to make it a point to make sure that students seek, what it is they want to do early, right? And hopefully I can illustrate why that's so important. And I know it's hard because we're young people going through, as a early college student, and and you may or may not know exactly what it is you want to pursue just yet, but that's why I encourage you to actively seek what profession you want to pursue, because working backwards is what I call it. Like, okay, if I learn what I want to do, then I can find out where I need to go to attain what institution I need to go to attain. Because, well, let me I skip the part. If I know what I want to do, then I know what major I need to major in, and then I know what institution has that major, right? And then what the requirements are, right, of that major in that institution, so on and so forth, right? So you kind of walk your way backwards, right, to set yourself up to transfer right into the major that you need to get the profession that you want, right? And so that's kind of the way I look at it, right? So, you know, I didn't actually do it that way, right? I was coming up and, didn't know what I wanted to do. Other than, play football. And, that played a major part into my decision. However, I don't advise that with my advisees, right? Try to, definitely understand what it is you want to do as soon as possible. And then that'll help you drive your decision moving forward. Are there any questions so far? Okay, so boxes to check. Okay, in preparation for transfer, especially on the early college side, right? I don't think that you guys had to do anything with residency just yet. All right. And then there have been people who have left, or former students who have, been out of school for a while and residency wasn't even in place yet. And then you have the students who were in school who did do residency, and now it's just, after so long, I'm not sure exactly how long, but, and if anyone knows, please share. But it will run out, right? And so you have to renew it, right? So the RDS, the residency determination system, basically is an accountability system put in place to make sure people live where they say they live, basically. And most of this has to do with tuition, right? So out-of-state tuition is typically 3 times more than in-state tuition, just on an average. And so, it makes a difference. So there have been times, and I'm sure in the past, where people use some of their family members' addresses and things like that to save, that extra money for college. And so this is how this came to be. Register your portal for application at the four-year institution. So when you're in preparation, so there's a couple ways you can do it. You can, most institutions have portals, right? And it's much like kind of setting up a email account, right? So you go in, you put your name, you put an email address, maybe some more information, and basically you have that portal assigned to you. Within that portal is where the application is, okay, for that institution. Now that's one way. The other way is you have a common application, which covers so many institutions. You just kind of fill that out at one time, and then it covers like several institutions. So you can do it that way as well. I typically go the portal route, unless you just want to, unless you're just planning on applying to a whole lot of institutions. I don't know why, but I like to go directly to the institution of choice. Also, I'm not sure about how, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm not sure how necessarily how we will have to submit the waiver with the common application. But I continue on. Anyway, you register with your portal. You have to complete the application. Transcript, you have to get your transcript from here, all right, sent down to the four-year institution, right? And so that's it's a process. If you haven't done it before, it could be a little daunting. There's a couple little ins and outs. For instance, when going through our particular system, I can tell you from experience that, when it comes to the point of asking for your social security number or your school ID number, the school ID never works. See, so that's just an advantage of having, the experience. You always have to use your social here, unless they fixed it, since I've used it last, right? And so I just pick that up, and then I just always use the social for the student, right? To assist with them, applying and completing the application process. So yeah, you got to get your transcript, sit down. It has to be sent, we have to enter where you send it at. And then if applicable, right, if you're part of, well, let me not skip. You have to send the institution application fee, right? Now, if you're a part of student support services, and if that institution that we're applying to, therefore your institution we're applying to, accepts fee waivers, then we will provide that for you. Okay, so you will not have to pay a fee waiver as a student support services participant. Okay, so I just want to mention some resources, which of course TRIO Student Support Services that just so happen to be at the top of the list. Admissions office. So if you need assistance with RDS, the admissions office will assist with that. They like are very familiar with it. Also, it's very important to note that the RDS process is that you have to do that before you actually do the application, because the application is going to require you to have the RCN, okay, which is your residency certifying number or something like that. And that's what you actually have to enter, and that's what lets the system know, okay, well, they're in state or they're deemed out of state, right? So so that has to go on your application as well. All right. Your faculty advisors, again, please, definitely, make it known that who you are. It's good to meet them so they can know your face and to your name, and it's good for you to meet them, vice versa also, and a lot of times there'll be one of your instructors, so it could benefit you that way, right? And you build a relationship, and then you can hopefully they'll put you, make you a priority, for making sure that your schedule is planned and all those good things, right? School counselor, things happen as we're going through these processes, right? And so the school counselor is available. Now we have Miss Plum in that seat, in that role. She's pretty new, but she's here now. So it could be, it doesn't have to be about transfer, but you may need her anyway in another instance. And then your instructors, right? So if you have a question that, you just so happen to can't get a hold of anybody else, or if it's something that's specific to that particular, course in relations to somehow transfer, you always can ask your instructors. And you don't have to, the question you ask your instructors, it don't always have to be about, the class they teach, right? It can be, education wise, they went to college too, right? So, some of them may have transferred, and so maybe you just have a question and they're there with you at the time, use them, So yeah. So as far as student support services, and when we have our transfer meetings, we basically help you with all of these steps that when it comes to, you know, beginning with the portal registration and you know, the actual application, right? Now, when I first started, I walked the student all the way through the process, and the student being there for 3 hours. So we had to optimize this process a little bit. And so now what we ask is that you go ahead and, you know, say, you know, let's say, you know, you wanted to set up a meeting with me, a transfer meeting, and this would be, you know, most of the time, if you're looking at the fall, this will be the spring prior to, right? So we set the meeting up, and that brings me to a point too. It's another point. It's very important to know when the application deadline is. Okay. There are two institutions in particular that I know of: UNC Chapel Hill and NC State. Right. They have the earliest, unless it has changed since I've looked at theirs. They have the earliest application deadline dates that I know of. I think it used to be like February 15th, right? So that would mean that when you came back in the spring, right, if you didn't know exactly which school that you wanted to go to, right, and you're still kind of tossing things around and thinking about this one and thinking about that one, and then you decide you want to go to UNC Chapel Hill, and it's like the end of February, and you want to start in the fall, you kind of cut yourself out of that, right? So that's another reason why it's important to know certain things, you know, prior to, right, in order to be prepared. So those right now, as far as the state of North Carolina, those are the two earliest ones that I'm familiar with. So if you are thinking about applying to one of those institutions, please keep that in mind. But back to the process and what we typically try to do. We want you to have your portal registration done. We want you to have your admission application started. Okay. It might be some gaps. It may be, you know, the RCN that you haven't gotten yet, right? But we want you to have that, you know, prior to coming to us, right? You might have started at home, and then you need to come to admissions so they can help you with getting that done, and then come to us, right? And so we can review it. And if you have a question about a certain field and say, hey, I don't know, what does this mean? And there's some fields like that, you know, you may just, you know, need to have a question about or what have you. And, you know, and so we help you with that, you know, and instruct you on what you need to insert in that field. Also, bring a credit debit card with you with at least $10 on it. Now, I put $10. I typically tell them what the actual price is. I didn't look at it. I think it's still $7.50 or something like that for a transcript. But then I say 10 because, you know, it might go up 50 cents or something like that, you know. And just bring you know, you have 10, you should be covered, right? So you have that with you. That way we can go through the process with you in terms of ordering your transcript, making sure that all the correct information gets in, making sure it gets to the right place, okay? An SSS advisor will approve the application. We just talked about that. Ensure it's filled out correctly and provide any clarity where needed. SSS advisor will assist in the application submission, okay? We said that. SSS advisor will walk participant through the transcript request, right? We said that. And so we use the NACAC waiver, which is the, don't get me started. I think it's the National Counselors Association or something like that. I don't know what the last C is for, but it's like the National Counseling Association, and they provide waivers for students who are in TRIO programs, and not just students in TRIO programs, but including students in TRIO programs, you know, for college college application, right? Or college enrollment, right? So, and we use those. And so we get that filled out on site, and then we have that, we make sure that is sent via email to where that needs to go, okay? So we make sure that everything is packaged up and delivered the way it needs to be in a timely fashion. I always do this. This is just me now. I always do these, complete these tasks in the same day, in the same, time, right? And and I know it's at one time when we submitted these NACAP waivers, there was a certain way you had to put your insert your name in the title of the email, right? So it was like your name and your date of birth, something like that. I just can't remember exactly, but I don't know if it's still that way or not. I did help a student. I had helped two or three students last year that I can remember. One to A&T, one to ECU, but I can't remember if that was the case. I don't think it was. And so yeah, that is pretty much the transfer process. I did want to also mention in this information session that another resource, and I hate I left it off, but Elizabeth City State University 2+2 program. Now, it's not necessarily a resource in terms of, helping you go to, ECU, right? But it is an option that you may want to consider, especially if you feel limited or if your circumstances may limit you from, leaving town. Because really what it really does essentially is turn this institution into a 4-year institution, right? Because you finish your associates in arts or your associates in science. I'm sorry, rewind, out of fault. You complete human services, criminal justice, or elementary education, okay? Either one of those three disciplines, if you want to pursue those, there's a way that you can, but you would also need to kind of know this early. But if you don't know it early, there's still a way to complete that. But it's a way that you complete the 2 years here in our, kind of normal system fashion. And then they do a lot of virtual classes in the evening following your graduation from Elizabeth City to here, okay? And you can earn your 4-year degree. I have several students that have taken advantage of this, or several former advisees that have taken advantage of this, and they are doing well. They're doing well. They're doing well in social services. They're doing well in education. And they got their courses done right here. They graduated. They walked at Elizabeth City. It's just like you graduated from Elizabeth City State University. So, so we want to highlight that as well, because I think that's a major opportunity for the students here, okay? And especially when you're talking transfer, all right? So also, I just want to add, I've had, since I mentioned that, we also have articulation agreements with different institutions, and I'm gonna give you an example. So if you're wanting to look at transferring, and again, you don't necessarily want to attend Elizabeth City State University or graduate from, because of the limited disciplines, right? There are other articulation agreements in place here. For instance, you have the one with North Carolina A&T with information technology, right? So the reason I bring that one up is, okay, North Carolina A&T also has an online version, or there's an option to complete that information technology online. So therefore, you can also, I have a student right now that's finishing up, a former student that's finishing up with that. you can still get your 4-year degree, right, with an in-state tuition and still be, in this area, right? So these are just some highlights, you know, that that I want you to know about, in terms of the transfer process and what's out there, and that we are here to help you as well. Okay. So I don't know if Ms. Zolikoff or Ms. Porch has anything they want to add or chime in. I think that's just about all that I have. What time is it? Oh, it's 2:30. Okay, good. That's just about all that I have. If you have any questions, please raise them now.
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
can I ask you a question? So if I'm planning to finish all of my requirements for the degree program that I want to go into in like the end of this year, so the end of the fall semester, when would be a good time to like make an appointment with you to start the process?
So you're thinking about finishing in the fall, this upcoming fall?
Yes. Yes.
After this semester, in the first
Okay.
part, of that semester, we want to go ahead and get into it, because what they're gonna want to see is they're gonna want to see this semester's grades. So we need to get you see what I'm saying? And they still won't see the fall grades before you apply, but that's fine. Okay.
Well, I have some summer classes and some fall classes that I have scheduled to take.
Okay.
So I mean, is like the beginning of August good for that?
Yes.
Or should I do it over the summer?
Yes, you can contact your advisor at the end of end of summer. At the end of
summer. Okay.
In the summer, letting them know, say, hey, the fall, we're gonna, because remember what I said about the early application deadlines, right? So if that was the equivalent to what I said would be, September, right, 15th, if it was one of those institutions. So
yeah, and I called the program that I want to go into is an online program at ECU.
Okay.
And I spoke to someone, and she did say that the beginning of August is when they typically open up applications for the spring of 2025 semester.
Okay.
So I did try to find out from their end, when.
And that's accurate. That's in sync with what we just said. So so what I would say also too is one thing that's notable is that you got to realize that the earlier you get your application in, you see what I'm saying? The less they have
early
seen.
bird gets the worm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, the less they have
Yes.
seen. So that's another benefit. So I'm an advocate for getting your application in early, not waiting till the last minute, because once they get down to what, November,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's like,
Yes, absolutely.
And so yeah, I'm most definitely advocate to go ahead and get it in and get it over with. And I really do feel like you have a better look when you do it that way.
Good deal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great question. Anyone else? Okay. Right. I must have did pretty good. All right, great job. Well, look, I'm thrilled that you all showed up. And how you doing, Muhammad? Just seeing you. But I'm glad. Thank you guys for showing up. We appreciate it. We enjoy bringing you this information, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you in the very near future. If everyone is satisfied and all hearts and minds are clear, that's it. Have a great afternoon.
Have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Y'all have a great afternoon too. Thank you.